Before we dive into today's episode, a quick message for our conspiracy-minded listeners who might be frantically assembling their lizard people detection kits. This podcast will contain zero evidence of shape-shifting reptilians controlling world governments, precisely zero ancient astronaut theorists saying yes, and absolutely no secret underground civilizations plotting to reclaim the Earth's surface. The Silurian Hypothesis is a legitimate scientific thought experiment examining the geological detectability of industrial civilizations, not your invitation to connect random dots between the Illuminati, chemtrails, and that one weird rock formation you found behind your local Walmart. If you're already typing proof of reptile people into YouTube, please adjust your tinfoil hat to the critical thinking position. And remember, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, not just extraordinary enthusiasm for connecting completely unrelated phenomena with red string on your basement wall. Welcome back, my prehistorically perplexed paleontologists. I'm your quantum superposed archaeological anomaly, simultaneously discovering and burying evidence across infinite timelines. You're tuned into the Multiverse Employee Handbook, the only podcast that treats your corporate legacy like geological strata, layered, compressed, and mostly forgotten after a few million years. Speaking of forgotten legacies, our recent acquisition by Quantum Probability Solutions continues to unearth fascinating corporate fossils. While clearing out the sub-basement archives, the facilities team discovered what appears to be an employee handbook written on fossilized tree bark. Carbon dating suggests it's approximately 55 million years old, though I should note our HR department insists their policies are much more current than that. The mysterious document contains several policies about proper tail maintenance in the workplace and optimal basking spots during quarterly reviews. But today, dear listeners, we're diving into something even more ancient than our IT department's operating system. The possibility that we weren't the first technological civilization to call Earth home. That's right. We're exploring the Silurian Hypothesis, the scientific thought experiment proposing that another advanced species may have walked the Earth millions of years before us, leaving almost no trace for us to find. 55 million years ago, something strange happened. The Earth warmed rapidly, species vanished, carbon levels spiked, but there were no humans, not even apes. So, what caused it? Was it just another of Earth's many climate hiccups, or could it have been someone else's industrial revolution? What if we're not the first? What would we even look for? How would we know if an intelligent species rose and fell millions of years before us? And most importantly, if they existed, did they also have to deal with passive-aggressive notes about cleaning the break room microwave? The Paleocene-Eocene Thermal Maximum, or PETM, as the cool paleoclimatologists call it, shows eerie similarities to our modern climate change, rapid warming, ocean acidification, carbon spike. All that's missing is the TikTok videos documenting it. Today we explore the Silurian Hypothesis, the idea that another intelligent civilization may have walked the Earth long before us and left almost no trace. Though I suspect if they had corporate quarterly reports like ours, perhaps disappearing without a trace was their most impressive achievement. In the fluorescent-lit realm of what was recently rebranded as Quantum Probability Solutions, specifically in Conference Room C, which existed in a superposition of recently renovated and still smells inexplicably of reptile, Dr. Frank was having what could charitably be called an interspecies integration crisis. It had started, as these things often do, with what seemed like a routine geological survey. "We were just mapping potential quantum entanglement hotspots in the Cretaceous layer," Dr. Frank explained to the hastily assembled executive team, when the drill bit punctured what appeared to be, well, a hibernation chamber. The occupants were not pleased. The square-haired boss, whose hair had recently been rebranded with slightly rounder corners following the acquisition, leaned forward, his expression wavering between corporate excitement and existential dread. "Occupants, as in Silurians," Dr. Frank confirmed, pulling up a slide showing what appeared to be a sophisticated city complex buried 3 miles beneath Wyoming. An ancient race of intelligent reptilian bipeds who apparently ruled the Earth approximately 65 million years ago before going into hibernation to avoid what they believed was an impending catastrophe. "The dinosaur extinction event?" asked the CFO, already calculating the potential tax implications of employing prehistoric entities. "Actually, they caused it," Dr. Frank replied. "Apparently, their climate engineering experiment went poorly." Before anyone could process this revelation, the conference room doors swung open to reveal a delegation of 5 Silurians. They stood approximately 7 feet tall, with scaled skin in mottled greens and browns, elaborate crests on their heads, and eyes that seemed to hold 65 million years of accumulated wisdom, or possibly just extreme hibernation grogginess. "Greetings, mammals," the lead Silurian announced, their S sounds extending in a way that HR immediately flagged as a potential diversity training opportunity. "I am Chuck Toole, Chief Scientific Administrator of the Third Reptilian Dynasty. We understand you have acquired our previous territory." The newly appointed Director of Interspecies Resources, a position created approximately 30 seconds earlier with a hasty email, stepped forward with a stack of forms. "Welcome to Quantum Probability Solutions. We're thrilled to onboard representatives from such a temporally diverse background. If you could just fill out these W-9 forms, non-discrimination policy acknowledgements, and sign our standard no apocalyptic climate engineering clause." Chuck Toole's vertical pupils narrowed. "We do not onboard. We reclaim. This planet was ours long before your species stopped swinging in trees." "About that," interrupted a thin, wildly eccentric man nobody recalled inviting to the meeting, "I'm the doctor. Just the doctor. Not affiliated with your corporation, though I have excellent references across several millennia." The square-haired boss frowned. "Doctor who?" "Exactly," the doctor nodded enthusiastically. "Now, I've some experience mediating between humans and Silurians. Perhaps we could discuss a time-sharing arrangement, alternate weekends, split custody of the asteroid belt." What followed was the most complicated negotiation in corporate history. Facilities struggled to accommodate the Silurians' need for heat lamps and basking platforms. The cafeteria staff panicked over their sudden need to source still-moving prey items. IT discovered the Silurians' advanced crystalline technology was completely incompatible with Windows 11, though mysteriously worked perfectly with Windows Vista. "Your species is inefficient," Chuck Toole complained during the 3rd straight day of orientation presentations. "In our civilization, underperforming workers were simply consumed by their supervisors." "We had a similar policy before the last HR director left," the CFO muttered, "but it created terrible problems with the healthcare plan." The breaking point came during a mandatory team-building exercise involving trust falls. When informed they would need to catch falling mammals, the Silurian delegation exchanged looks of pure reptilian horror. "We have reconsidered our position," Chuck Toole announced. "Your corporate culture is more terrifying than another 65 million years of hibernation. We shall return to our chambers and set the alarm for when your species has evolved into something more reasonable or gone extinct." "Before you go," the doctor interjected, "perhaps a parting gift. I've compiled a flash drive with highlights of mammalian civilization, Shakespeare, Mozart, quantum mechanics, cat videos." "We will take the cat videos," Chuck Toole decided after brief consultation. "Those at least show promise." And so, dear listeners, as we close the prehistoric personnel file on this tale, remember, in the vast corporate cosmos of existence, sometimes the most prudent career move isn't climbing the ladder or lateral movement, but hibernating until your competition has completely disappeared from the face of the earth. Though I should note that the doctor vanished shortly after the negotiations concluded, leaving behind only a blue police box-shaped indent in the executive parking lot, and a note reading, "Call me when the Zygons arrive. Trust me, you'll know it when it happens." And that brings us to the fascinating science behind why finding evidence of previous civilizations on Earth might be harder than locating that email thread everyone claims you were copied on, but somehow never reached your inbox. Now that we've seen how ancient reptilians find our corporate culture more terrifying than extinction, let's talk about why evidence of such a civilization would be nearly impossible to find. The Silurian Hypothesis isn't about finding the doctor's reptilian frenemies beneath Wyoming. It's a serious scientific thought experiment from astrophysicist Adam Frank and NASA climate scientist Gavin Schmidt. Yes, they named it after Doctor Who characters. Scientists are just as influenced by pop culture as the rest of us. They just hide it behind peer review. The central question is deceptively simple. If an industrial civilization existed on Earth millions of years before humans, would we be able to detect it? If dinosaurs developed spacefaring technology before that unfortunate asteroid incident, how would we know? You might think, surely we'd find fossilized smartphones or ancient reptilian shopping malls. But the Earth is remarkably efficient at erasing evidence over geological timescales, like that coworker who removes all traces of the donuts you labeled saving for later. Plate tectonics constantly recycles the Earth's surface. Oceanic crust gets subducted under continental plates, melting whatever was built there. It's nature's circular economy, except the cycle takes millions of years and doesn't use those recycling symbols nobody understands. Even our most durable materials eventually break down. Steel rusts, concrete crumbles, plastic degrades, though slower than we'd prefer. Given 50 million years, even the most impressive structures would disappear, like your motivation after the third consecutive meeting that could have been an email. Fossilization itself is extraordinarily rare, requiring specific conditions like quick burial and the right minerals. Most living things leave no fossil record whatsoever. Even T-Rex barely made it, and it had much bigger teeth than you. The Silurian Hypothesis isn't pseudoscience or an ancient alien theory. It's a scientific thought experiment exploring how industrial civilizations might be detected in geological records, asking what if, without claiming it actually happened. Our industrial civilization, despite its brevity, is leaving detectable marks, anomalous carbon isotopes, synthetic chemicals, microplastics, and unusual extinction patterns, forming what scientists call the Anthropocene. This raises the question, do similar markers already exist in the geological record? Is there evidence of another scene we've missed? We'll explore this after our break. Though I suspect even if we found a fossilized Silurian performance review, we'd never know if fails to consume underperforming subordinates in a timely manner was a positive or negative evaluation. Welcome back, my stratigraphically sophisticated snoops. While you were away, our geology department carbon dated the break room refrigerator contents. They found 3 distinct civilizational collapses in the back corner and something that might have been yogurt, but has now achieved enough sentience to qualify for middle management. Let's explore what evidence of a pre-human industrial civilization might actually look like in the geological record. If our scaly predecessors built shopping malls and power plants, what traces would remain after tens of millions of years? The most promising evidence wouldn't be fossilized iPads, it would be chemical signatures in ancient sediments. Think of Earth's layers as a planetary filing system, each stratum containing receipts of what happened during that period. Only instead of labeled folders, it's compressed rock requiring specialized equipment and a PhD to interpret. Our current Anthropocene is creating several unmistakable signatures. First, the carbon isotope record. Burning fossil fuels releases carbon with a distinct isotopic composition. Future geologists might detect this as an unusual carbon-12 spike followed by rapid warming, like leaving your corporate credit card statement for future archaeologists. Yes, they definitely splurged on fossil fuels. Then there are synthetic chemicals, compounds that don't occur naturally. Future scientists might find traces of pharmaceuticals, flame retardants, and artificial sweeteners embedded in rock layers. It's like finding "Made by Humans" trademark stamped microscopically throughout the strata. Perhaps our most enduring legacy will be microplastics and plastiglomerates, hybrid materials made of melted plastic, sediment, lava fragments, and organic debris. Imagine future paleontologists discovering what they think is a new rock type, only to realize it's someone's discarded water bottle fused with sand and lava. Ah yes, the Pacific Garbage Patch Formation, classic late Anthropocene. So, what about past civilizations? Interestingly, several events share characteristics with our climate situation. The Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, PETM, occurred about 55.5 million years ago, with temperatures rising 5 to 8 degrees Celsius, carbon isotopes shifting dramatically, and many species going extinct. What caused it remains debated. I'm not saying it was intelligent reptilians with an industrial revolution, but I'm not saying it either. Other events include the Carboniferous rainforest collapse 307 million years ago, and the end Permian extinction 252 million years ago, when 96% of marine species vanished amid massive CO2 increases. Natural explanations exist for all these events. That's the frustrating beauty of the Silurian Hypothesis. The evidence would be almost indistinguishable from natural phenomena unless we knew exactly what to look for. The issue of concentration matters too. What if a previous technological species only developed in a small region? Their impact might appear as nothing more than a curious anomaly in a single rock formation. What about physical artifacts? The sad truth is they probably wouldn't survive. Most human-made structures would be ground to dust long before reaching the million-year mark. Even Mount Rushmore would vanish within a few million years. A geological eye blink. This raises a humbling question. What if we've already found evidence of a previous technological civilization, but misinterpreted it as natural phenomena? Fortunately, there's one place where evidence might survive much longer, a perfect preservation environment just 250,000 miles away. If Earth is like that colleague who immediately deletes your emails to maintain inbox zero, the Moon is more like that one team member who never throws anything away and has decades of memos still filed in chronological order. our lunar neighbor offers something truly remarkable when it comes to preserving evidence: stability. The Moon has no plate tectonics to recycle its surface, no flowing water to cause erosion, no weather to wear down structures, and virtually no atmosphere to cause oxidation or weathering. It's the ultimate cosmic storage locker, a place where footprints can last millions, even billions of years. When Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface in 1969, he created an impression that, barring a direct meteorite hit, will likely outlast every human structure on Earth.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Those boot prints could potentially remain visible for 100 million years or more. It's like accidentally stepping in wet cement outside the office, except your embarrassment will outlast your entire species.
No!
This extraordinary preservation environment means that if any previous Earth civilization reached the technological capability for spaceflight, and if they visited the Moon, evidence could still be there, waiting to be discovered. Spacecraft remnants, mining operations, structures, anything left on the lunar surface would remain essentially unchanged for geological timescales that boggle the mind. Of course, we found nothing so far. No alien monoliths, despite what 2001, a space odyssey, led us to expect. No fossilized lunar landers, no reptilian flags planted at the lunar poles. The lack of evidence certainly doesn't support the idea of previous spacefaring civilizations, though our automated response system insists we note that we've only directly explored about 0.05% of the lunar surface. It's like declaring there are no staplers in the office after checking only the break room microwave. But this raises a more profound philosophical question, one that circles back to the heart of the Silurian Hypothesis. Would we leave anything on the Moon that lasts long enough for the next species to find? Our lunar exploration has left behind 6 Apollo landing sites with equipment, experiments, flags, and yes, those famous footprints. We've crashed probes, left retroreflectors, and abandoned rovers. But will any of it still be recognizable in 50 million years? The flags have likely already been bleached white by solar radiation, cosmic censorship of our national symbols. Many of our materials would break down under the constant bombardment of micrometeorites and extreme temperature fluctuations. Even if some artifacts survive, would they be recognized as artificial by a future intelligence? Imagine evolved octopuses, the consensus pick for Earth's next potential technological species, assuming we leave them any oceans, finally reaching the Moon in 100 million years. Would they recognize a half-buried, radiation-damaged lunar module as technology, or dismiss it as an unusual mineral formation? Would they have any context for interpreting a human bootprint? These questions reveal something profound about the search for previous civilizations. Recognition requires context. We recognize dinosaur fossils as remains of animals because they share structural similarities with living animals. But would we recognize the technological equivalent of a dinosaur if we found it? Perhaps the most enduring artifacts we've placed on the Moon are the simplest, the retroreflector arrays left by Apollo astronauts. These arrays of corner cube prisms require no power and have no moving parts. They simply reflect light back to its source, allowing precise measurement of the Earth-Moon distance. They could potentially function for millions of years, though whether future intelligent species would recognize their purpose is another question entirely. So our lunar neighbor stands as a silent witness, its airless, weatherless surface preserving whatever we leave there for unimaginable time spans. It's both an archive of our past and a message board for our future, or for whoever comes next, Though I suspect if the Silurians had reached the moon, they'd have at least left behind some strongly worded parking regulations. Imagine this. It's 2042. A research team using quantum-enhanced drilling technology is taking core samples from ancient sedimentary layers in what used to be the Tethys Sea, studying late Cretaceous climate patterns. As our yogurt-based corporate overlords might say, the most significant discoveries happen when looking for something else entirely. The lead geologist, Dr. Amara Boston, notices something unusual in a core dating to 66.3 million years ago, just before the Chicxulub impact. The sediment contains traces of what appears to be a plastaglomerate layer, that hybrid material of melted plastic, rock, and organic debris we've only started creating recently. But this layer is 66 million years old. Initial analysis suggests contamination, the scientific equivalent of "your equipment must be broken." But subsequent testing confirms the finding. This layer contains polymers with chemical structures that don't occur naturally, their molecular backbone unmistakable despite eons of degradation. The same layer shows trace elements of transuranic isotopes, elements like plutonium-244 that should have decayed away if formed during Earth's creation. Their presence suggests recent synthesis before deposition. The carbon ratios tell another story, a rapid shift resembling what happens when vast quantities of fossil fuels are burned quickly, with a distinct carbon-12 signature we associate exclusively with industrial activity. Meanwhile, on the Moon, a mining corporation scanning for helium-3 detects an anomaly near Shackleton Crater. Ground-penetrating radar reveals a non-natural polygonal structure 12 meters across, buried under lunar soil, dating to roughly 65.5 million years ago. Excavation uncovers an artificial construct made of crystalline material with molecular organization matching no known natural process. At its center lies what appears to be a data storage device employing incomprehensible technology. Back on Earth, paleontologists discover evidence of a highly localized extinction event that preceded the asteroid impact by 800,000 years. Concentrated in a small coastal region of the ancient Tethys Sea, accompanied by unusual concentrations of rare earth elements typically associated with electronics manufacturing. Is this proof of a pre-human civilization? Not quite. The evidence remains frustratingly ambiguous. The plastaglomerate could be explained by unknown natural processes. The lunar structure might result from impact dynamics. The localized extinction could represent a unique ecological collapse. But collectively, these discoveries would represent anomalous signals, findings that don't fit neatly into our understanding of Earth's history. Not proof, but not nothing either. Analysis shows the carbon spike was brief. Unlike our Anthropocene, this signal rose and declined rapidly. Did a previous civilization recognize their climate impacts and transition to sustainability? Or did they suffer a collapse? Or is it simply a natural phenomenon mimicking industrial signatures? The lunar data storage device remains unreadable despite our best technologies. We recognize it as a deliberate creation, but its contents remain tantalizingly out of reach. These hypothetical discoveries would transform the Silurian Hypothesis from thought experiment to serious scientific question, forcing us to consider that we're not the first technological civilization, just the first one we know about. And perhaps most uncomfortable of all, these discoveries would confront us with our own impermanence. If an entire civilization could disappear so completely that we're only finding traces millions of years later, what does that say about our legacy? Though I suspect even 66 million years from now, somewhere in the solar system, there will still be an unread email from Dave in accounting asking everyone to please label their food in the refrigerator. The Silurian Hypothesis isn't actually about ancient lizard people with smartphones. The real message hiding beneath this scientific thought experiment has nothing to do with what came before us and everything to do with what comes after. When Schmidt and Frank published their paper in the International Journal of Astrobiology, they weren't trying to convince anyone that hyper-intelligent triceratops built shopping malls. Their aim was to get us thinking about the marks we're leaving on the geological record and how ephemeral our achievements are in deep time. The humbling truth is that civilizations are incredibly fragile against geological timescales. Our most impressive monuments, from the pyramids to the Burj Khalifa, would be completely erased within a few million years, a mere blink in Earth's 4.5 billion year history. Our cities, technology, and physical presence are all temporary, destined to be recycled by Earth's relentless geological processes. What will remain of us? Primarily, our waste and damage. Climate change will leave isotopic signatures in sediments. Our chemicals will leave traces in rock strata. The species we've driven extinct will create gaps in the fossil record. Our most enduring legacy might be the things we'd least like to be remembered for. While our physical structures will disappear, these chemical signatures could last for millions of years. Future geologists, whether evolved from raccoons, cephalopods, or something unimaginable, might find this thin layer and wonder, just as we do, about anomalous layers from the past. This raises profound questions about our responsibilities to the deep future. If only our broadest impacts on the biosphere will survive, what signature do we want to leave? The hypothesis invites us to see ourselves not just as Earth's inheritors, but as ancestors to whatever comes next, even if next is 50 million years away. As Adam Frank put it, it's not about what came before, it's about what comes after. The hypothesis serves as a mirror, reflecting our civilization's transience back at us through the lens of deep time. There's something profoundly humbling about contemplating our place in this vast geological story. Even if we survive for thousands of years, most evidence of our existence would still eventually be erased. Perhaps only our radio waves, traveling eternally through space, would carry proof we were ever here. This perspective doesn't have to be depressing. It can be liberating. The knowledge that Earth will eventually erase even our worst mistakes might free us to focus on what truly matters, not leaving eternal monuments, but creating a civilization that lives in balance with planetary systems. The real value of the Silurian hypothesis lies in forcing us to adopt a truly geological perspective on our civilization. When we view ourselves as a brief blip in Earth's long history, as just one iteration in a potentially long series of intelligent species, our responsibilities to the planet come into sharper focus. So perhaps the next time you're stuck in a particularly pointless meeting, contemplating the apparent meaninglessness of corporate existence, take comfort in the deep time perspective. This too shall pass. Well, my anomalously ancient associates, we've reached the end of another geological epoch of podcasting. Today we've learned that in the multiverse of civilizational impacts, every industrial society exists in a superposition of temporarily dominant and future chemical signature, until planetary processes collapse the wave function. We've discovered that our most enduring legacy might not be our art, culture, or even our TikTok dance challenges, but rather the plastic microbeads from our facial scrubs, preserved in future rock formations long after our grandest monuments have eroded away. Though I suspect even after 100 million years, somewhere in the depths of the quantum probability field, there will still be that one undeliverable email from the Paleocene bouncing eternally between servers. If you could leave one thing behind for a future civilization to find, some artifact that might survive deep time and tell them we were here, what would it be? A monolith on the moon, a time capsule of memes, a comprehensive guide to why replying all to company-wide emails is never appropriate. Share your thoughts with us on our social media, where we're simultaneously existing and not existing until someone checks our profile. And if you've enjoyed this journey through deep time, why not help us create our own geological impact by subscribing to the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing this episode with a fellow temporal explorer? The algorithms that determine our digital visibility operate on timescales significantly shorter than tectonic plate movements, so your actions today could help preserve our digital fossils for at least a few more quarterly cycles. Until next time, this is your quantum coherent correspondent, reminding you that in the vast geological record of existence, even yogurt-based corporate overlords are just a temporary blip in the endless story of Earth's evolution. Though that doesn't mean you shouldn't clean up after yourself in the break room. Some traditions transcend species, civilizations, and possibly even the entire Cenozoic era.
G'day, this is Jimbo from Perth, Australia. The Multiverse Employee Handbook was created by Rob Corrigan, edited by Joseph Cooper, and narrated by David from 11 Labs. All the science fact-checking is handled by Wolf Edmonds. The handbook team also includes Hugh Mann, Dr. Eric Hale, and Ms. Henley. Be sure to subscribe so you get the latest updates on new episodes.